The NHL is filled with a bunch of different moving parts, and a lot of those things can make it very difficult for new fans of the game to really get into the sport and truly understand all the different pieces that go on to make the NHL function. In this new series on the channel, I want to go over different things involved with the NHL that a lot of people find very difficult to understand or are just confused about in general. So I want you to go ahead and leave a comment below on something that you don't understand, and I'll go ahead and cover it in the next episode of NHL 101. Now, right before I get into this week's topic, which is waivers, I want to give a giant thank you to every single person that subscribed to the channel. 2 days ago, we just hit 1,000 subscribers, and that's a number I never thought I would reach. Little 12-year-old me would have absolutely been mind-blown knowing that I eventually hit my goal. It's something I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, and I'm so glad that I finally did it, and I have all of you guys to thank. And I thank you guys so much. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and start into this week's episode talking about waivers. What are waivers? Waivers is the process that teams use to send players down to the minor leagues, or they can also be used to mutually end contracts. Basically, when a player is put on waivers, a 24-hour period is started where any other team in the NHL can submit a claim for the player. And if a team submits a claim for that player, basically what happens is that team obtains the player for free and takes on their full salary cap hit. If a player then goes unclaimed, the team can then have them remain on their NHL roster for 30 days while being waiver exempt, or they can send them down to their AHL affiliate. Now, when it comes to waivers, there are two types of waivers. You have regular waivers, which is what I just described. A team puts a player up on waivers, any team can claim them. If they don't, that player can then be sent down to the AHL. But there's also unconditional waivers. Basically, what unconditional waivers is it gives the team a way to mutually end contracts, and it happens normally in the 2 weeks in July when it's called the buyout period. When a team buys a player out, basically what it does is ends their contract with the team, but the player still ends up being paid. It just gets stretched out over a longer period of time than the contract was initially worth. One question you might have thought of while I explained the process of waivers might have been, what happens if multiple teams submit a claim for a person that's on waivers? Basically, if it's before November 1st in the hockey season, if multiple teams submit a claim on a player, then it'll go by whoever was in the worst part of the standings in the last season. If it's past November 1st, it goes off of current standings and whoever's lower in the overall standings in the league. Another thing that you might commonly see are players being signed to one-way and two-way contracts. A lot of people think that when a player is signed to a two-way contract, it automatically makes them waiver exempt, but this is a common misconception and it has no effect on waivers at all. Basically, when a contract is two-way, it basically means that they make a certain amount at the NHL level and at the AHL level. With all that being said though, there are players that are exempt from waivers, and it normally has to do with how old they are and when they just signed their contract. I'm going to throw up the chart now from Cap Friendly that kind of details this and explains it. But for example, if you look at this chart, a player that is 18 when they sign their entry-level contract can either play 160 games in the NHL or have their contract be valid for 5 years before they are exempt from waivers. Once they either hit the 5th year of their entry-level contract or they play 160 games in the NHL, they then have to pass through waivers to go down to the AHL. One last thing to mention is that the waiver period is every single day. So around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll see the top insiders tweet out about waivers for the day. This is around the time when teams can either submit a claim or the previous day's claims will be talked about, and then that player will get moved to their new team. So if you're ever wondering why you always see the insiders tweet out around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's why. That's when all the league's new claim filings get updated for the day and when yesterday's also get added into the list. But that basically does it for all the basics of waivers. If you still have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. If there's anything else in the NHL that you don't understand, also go ahead and leave that in the comments below and I'll do it on the next episode of NHL 101. Thank you so much for watching this far into the video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.